polyphasic sleep, pros and cons. There's a belief that if a person practices polyphasic sleep, they can sleep less, like 2 or 4 hours a day naturally, right? And while doing this, they can manage everything, feel good, not experience problems with drowsiness, and life in general becomes better and more efficient. But is this really the case? I will tell you in this video. Watch this video to the end and I will tell you that there is only one group of people who have really shown polyphasic sleep. What is polyphasic sleep? A legend, but I use this word because some say that yes, it is a scientifically proven fact, but there is no evidence of a scientifically proven fact. It is more likely a legend about the fact that Leonardo da Vinci slept every 4 hours for 20 minutes. Although in other sources it is written that every 2 hours he slept for 20 minutes. There is a discrepancy even here. And it turns out that if he slept every 4 hours for 20 minutes, then he slept only 2 hours a day. And if every 2 hours for 20 minutes, then it means 4 hours a day. Well, in general, accordingly, either 2 hours or still it's very little sleep. And how much Leonardo da Vinci managed to do. And our people think that if they heroically repeat his feats with polyphasic sleep, they will be just as great and famous and create a lot if they follow polyphasic sleep. But let's still figure it out from the point of view of modern science of physiology, but also in general of common sense. The thing is that the duration of sleep, it is genetically determined. There are actually short sleeping people. Well, for example, Napoleon, Thatcher slept for 4 hours. Trump tells everyone that he sleeps 4 hours. Yes, although he tells so much to everyone, there are average sleeping people. This is from 7 to 9 hours. There are long sleeping people. That is, in general, the norm of sleep is from 4 to 12 hours, but the average value is 7 to 9, and if nature has given you to sleep so many hours genetically, then it is practically impossible to change this. You know how let's breathe every other time, let's drink water half as much, or let's almost stop eating. What will this lead to? If we do not satisfy our basic needs, then any mammal will eventually die. And by the way, if you deprive this mammal of sleep, it will also die. There are such studies on dogs, cats, mice, and so on. So the first postulate, that's how much you need, that's how much you should sleep. And globally, it's impossible to reduce the duration of sleep no matter how hard you try. As for these 20-minute intervals, when the science of sleep somnology appeared, and when methods of sleep research appeared, and so-called polysomnography, it was proven that a person sleeps in so-called cycles. First stage, second stage, then deep stage, so-called delta sleep, where, by the way, various hormones are produced, in particular growth hormone, testosterone, and so on. And then comes the rapid eye movement phase of sleep, when we dream. And during sleep, we have 3 to 4, sometimes 5 such cycles repeat. And it's also scientifically proven that if these cycles become incomplete, let's say, a person will always be woken up when they enter rapid eye movement sleep. Or, for example, they exclude the deep sleep stage, they wake him up when he reaches the deep sleep stage. After a relatively short period of time, measured in days, if a person's rapid eye movement sleep is disrupted, the person literally starts to have daytime hallucinations. Sleep intrudes into wakefulness due to the extraordinary importance of this sleep stage. If children, for example, lose deep stages of sleep, diseases such as snoring apnea cause this, then children begin to grow and develop poorly. In adults, the exception or reduction in the duration of deep sleep stages leads to the fact that this is a direct path to obesity. And it is extremely important that a person at least slept in such 2-hour intervals. Yes, it could be 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, or something around that. And if a person only sleeps for 20 minutes, they won't even reach the deep sleep stage, which usually begins around 60 minutes into sleep. And of course, rapid eye movement sleep will also suffer. That is, we effectively almost completely destroy the structure of a person's sleep. And this is a genetically determined condition that ensures a person's normal functioning and life itself. Thus, the second postulate is that sleep for 20 minutes cannot provide a normal sleep structure.
If we purely theoretically imagine some method that would allow us to sleep only 2 hours a day, would it correlate with people being able to do more?
Here too, the question is quite complex because everyone has their own type of nervous system. And if you imagine a person will rest less and work more, and a person is impressionable, and a person reacts to stress, let's say with the development of anxiety, depression, and so on. And in general, short sleeping people suffer from various mental disorders more often because their nervous system is simply more stressed. They have more time for this. If we load a person who is impressionable or a person with not a very stable nervous system with work, then he will burn out very quickly. He will not need anything anymore. So let's not deviate from nature. If you are given 8 hours to sleep, yes, as Einstein said, and I sleep 10 hours and waste life, yes, and not the worst one. Let's consider sleep as one of the most important and generally one of the best parts of our life. And then we will get pleasure both from sleep and from waking up. In particular, if we are psychologically overloaded, we develop stress, and stress in turn causes insomnia. And if we overloaded ourselves at work, if we limited our sleep and worked a lot, as a result we got stress, which further worsens this sleep. And in general, it's such a vicious circle. By the way, I recently wrote a book on stress and insomnia, how to break out of the vicious circle. The video description contains a link to this book. And there is a step-by-step 12-day instruction on what you should do to reduce stress and improve the quality of your sleep. Be sure to read this book. If you also want to shorten your sleep to the point where you sleep 2 or maybe a maximum of 4 hours a day, like this video. But I warn you, after some time you will become my patients and come to me to treat your sleep disorders. But even imagine that this method works. And how will you live in such a real social life, especially in modern society? How will you work? Will you come to work and tell your employer, dear friend, let me off every 2 hours or every 4 hours, I will sleep? And also provide me with conditions for sleep so that it was quiet, dark, and no one disturbed. This situation is unrealistic, right? And in this sense, in a social sense, this is also practically an unachievable task. So think twice, even thrice, before you decide to experiment in this sense. Although I want to say, people come to me periodically who tell me I tried it, but there wasn't a single person who didn't say that after a week or two he practically stopped functioning normally. That is, drowsiness began, irritability, the person stopped normally perceiving information, and in the end all these experiments ended quickly. And actually speaking, even if you read real scientific literature, it is never described that someone applied these techniques and they allowed him in the long term to reduce the duration of sleep and ensure, and at the same time, the effectiveness of the body's functioning. This does not happen. Well, maybe some of you have practiced something like this and you succeeded. Or did it not work out? Also write in the comments. It will be interesting to discuss. Ask questions, and I will try to give some answers based on current scientific research in this area. I promised you that I would talk about a group of people who really need polyphasic sleep to function normally. These are patients with narcolepsy. This is a very specific disease associated with the disruption of certain processes in the brain and certain neuromediators, which leads to the fact that a person experiences severe daytime sleepiness after a short period of wakefulness. There's a saying that try not to sleep for 2 days, and you'll understand what a person with narcolepsy feels like, not having slept for 8 hours. In addition to severe daytime sleepiness, a person may also have sleep paralysis when he cannot move during falling asleep or waking up, hallucinations during sleep or waking up, so-called hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations, but also such a specific manifestation of the disease as cataplexy, when a person, in response to intense emotions, moreover positive, can collapse. He can simply lose muscle tone, fall down, and sometimes even fall asleep. This is a specific manifestation of narcolepsy. In cases of narcolepsy, a complete cure is unfortunately not possible. You can give certain drugs that will slightly reduce daytime sleepiness, but not cure the person. And there it is recommended for a person to lie down to sleep every 2 to 4 hours, depending on the severity of the disease, for 15 to 20 minutes. And when a person has slept, his degree of sleepiness decreases or even disappears, and the next light interval lasts for 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours. And it turns out that the person really experiences polyphasic sleep, when 3 to 4 times a day, a person needs to sleep for a short enough period of time to be able to function the rest of the time. And here, when I consult such patients, I recommend them to choose free professions, programmers, translators, writers, who can interrupt at any moment sleep accordingly, get such a refreshing short sleep, and then for 2 to 3 hours again, normally be alert. And such people can't work somewhere on a conveyor belt. They can't work there as drivers. And by the way, narcolepsy is a contraindication for a person to be issued a driver's license. Imagine a person driving at 74.565 miles an hour, getting scared of something and immediately falling asleep at the wheel. Cataplexy manifests in these patients in this form. Well, I say again, this is the only group that really needs polyphasic sleep. If in principle to consider polyphasic sleep not as one such sleep block, but maybe 2, then this can be considered and siesta as polyphasic sleep. Consider an individual who sleeps for 6 hours at night and then takes a 1.5 to 2 hour nap during the day. And overall, it turns out to be the same 8 hours. But pay attention. The person still rests during the day, not for 20 minutes, but the same 1.5 to 2 hours to go through a full sleep cycle, and the person makes up for the deficit that, let's say, he didn't get at night. But let's underline once again, let's understand that polyphasic sleep is a myth. Yes, it's beautiful, it's so attractive, which seems to allow a person to reduce sleep and increase efficiency. But let's understand that sleep is once again a vital condition. If you reduce it, nothing good will happen to you, neither with your feelings, and even theoretically, your lifespan can be shortened. Therefore, sleep as much as nature has given you. Subscribe to my channel, and you will definitely improve the quality of your sleep and possibly get rid of insomnia. And click on the bell so you don't miss my new interesting videos.